All right, down in the basement tonight. I posted a video yesterday about a YouTuber that returned that has inspired a lot of things that I've done over the years and given a lot of great information for probably the last 7 or 8 years. Really enjoyed all the content that he puts out. So when I saw that he came back right before I left for my day hike, I grabbed a stove to make some coffee on the trail and just kind of commemorate his return. So this is a cook kit that was inspired by one that he made a number of years ago, and it's one that's I could never get rid of it. It's an incredible, lightweight, very useful cook kit, and with a few questions I got about it, I wanted to just make a video and get it out to you guys about what all's in here, what it weighs, how it's made, things like that. So I'm gonna just get the camera set up and just forgive the lighting. I am stuck here in the basement tonight. So I'm gonna get the camera set up and I'll be right back. Okay, first things first, I just want to get a weight of the entire cook kit. So coming in right here at 2.82 ounces. That's everything included in the cook kit. I've got all the components of the cook kit laid out here. Just want to go over them one by one and kind of show you what all is entailed in this cook kit. So starting out, 24 ounce Heineken keg can. I've got some 1/16 inch fiberglass wicking for a pot grab there so you can pick it up when there's boiling liquid inside of it, and then just a silicone lip guard there to keep from burning your lips if you are going to drink from it. And I used a safety cutter for the removal of the top without popping the tab, and then just bent the tab up and added a little piece of cord to be able to lift the lid off when it's coming straight off the stove. And I've got just a 1/8 inch hole drilled there for a little vent. And then I've got a little heat shield for the ground just made out of a pie tin, and that works out really well. You can see that it stops a lot of this heat and soot, any kind of chemicals or anything like that getting on the ground in the forest, and definitely want to just leave no trace like I was never there. So it's good to have this to protect the ground and keep any of that off the dirt. DIY Cuban stuff sack for everything to fit inside. This towel represents the towel that was inside it yesterday. That orange towel is still wet. It's just a cut down piece of light load towel on this one, but wanted to make sure that I represented that in the video and in the weight. This is also made from a larger, like, casserole disposable dish for baking, and I made the windscreen out of that, and I've just got a little piece of Tyvek kind of looped around it to hold it in shape while it's stored inside, and it just kind of stores inside the pot stand like that and stays out of the way. And I have a single paper clip to hold that form when I do have it set up around the pot. And then the pot stand is made out of a piece of hardware cloth, and I think it's 12 or 13 around there. Actually, I think it's 14 around and 3 high. And then for the 15th square, I just kind of left the edges open so that I could wrap them around the beginning of the next square and create the loop. And then I went through and trimmed out every other one to cut as much weight as possible. And then this is just a little piece of Tyvek that I wrap around it to keep that soot and anything that it picks up off the ground or from the Esbit getting on the inside of the clean pot. So that just keeps, and that just fits perfectly inside the clean. And then this is the stove that I use. It is made from titanium, and it's almost exactly the same size as a 14-gram Esbit fuel tab. And I basically cut this out of an old piece of titanium from a windscreen that I had a number of years ago, and I keep it inside an easy dose pill pouch to just keep it from getting any of that residue on the inside of the pot. So that's everything that's inside the cook kit. Let me show you how I make this stove. All right, I picked this up a number of years ago. It's just a titanium windscreen, and it's a very heavy, very thick gauge. I did use it for quite a long time. You can see all the discoloration in there from the years of use, but finally I just realized that, man, this thing's heavy. It's not any lighter than an aluminum windscreen I make out of tin foil or a pie tin. So just kind of ditched it and started using the homemade ones out of the casserole disposable tins, and then ended up getting into some lighter weight titanium that Tokes makes for theirs. And then I found actually a company online that sells that thinner gauge for the titanium windscreens that I was able to pick up very cheap and make some of my own. So basically what I do is I just take a section of that, and I have a kind of pre-mapped out pattern here, and this is just made out of old Bud Light bottle when they made the aluminum 16-ounce stadium bottles. And so I can basically just trace this on here, and then I cut it out with some tin snips and fold it into the shape that I need, and end up with this. So it's pretty easy to cut the rectangle. So it's 1 7/8 by 1 and, sorry, there's a little reflection on it. It looks like 1 5/8. And then once I cut out the 1 7/8 by 1 5/8, then I just trim the notches in each of the corners and then fold the ends up to create the little stove that it sits in. And you can kind of see that, I mean, it works out really well. I've had a lot of use with this and been very happy with it. There's a number of different solid fuel stoves on the market. I really like to use this one. So Esbit actually makes some stoves, and this is one of the stoves that they make. And I did give this a lot of testing and just trying to see if it was the right thing for me before I decided to stick with the DIY type Esbit stove. So it's just kind of stands up like that. You put your fuel in there, and your pot kind of sits on there. Now, if you're using a larger diameter pot, it's okay. This, it kind of catches on the little seat there at the bottom of the can, and man, it really just, like, you have to get it just right to keep it from falling over. So figured out pretty quickly after doing some testing with this thing that it just wasn't right for me, and kind of did away with it and really decided to stick with this one. So real quick, all right, I got the scale back over here, and I just wanted to see if this even would register on the scale, and it certainly does not. It's doesn't even show that it's 1 gram. So that is awesome, because if you were to compare it to something like this at 11 grams, that's pretty cool. That cuts quite a bit of weight off of using something like this. And I mean, with the beer can pots, it's not really right for it anyway. So it's kind of a no-brainer to go this DIY route. And I have been a fan of beer can pots for a number of years, and I've got a couple other ones here, and really just had a lot of luck using them, and love playing with these things. It's a good bit of fun. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comment box below. Certainly appreciate you checking us out.